and welcome to our podcast, PEAC, Train Like a Girl. We're a podcast by female athletes and coaches for female athletes and coaches. We're here to amplify your voice because it deserves to be heard. At PEAC, our mission is to empower female athletes and coaches with knowledge, resources, and support necessary to thrive in today's athletic environments. We want you to join us for bold conversations about the experiences of female athletes and coaches. Our discussions might make you laugh, cry, cheer, sometimes get frustrated, and hopefully rethink the future of girls in sport for generations to come. So whether you're walking, commuting, or cleaning your bedroom, take us with you. Follow us. Check out our website, consider making a donation, and share us with a female athlete or coach you love. Now, just a little bit about our next guest. Our next guest happens to be one of our fabulous interns. She couldn't make our last episode where we introduced our other two interns because she was recovering from surgery. I'm going to have her share more about that. So before we get on any further learning more about Jenna, I'm ready to get warmed up. How about you guys?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Jenna, let's start with you. Sports car or SUV?
Ooh, SUV. It's better for camping.
Nice. Megan?
SUV.
Nice. Ocean or pool? Megan?
Pool.
I knew you were going to say that. Jenna?
Ocean.
Rainstorm or snowstorm? Jenna?
Ooh, rainstorm because you sit on the porch and watch it.
Nice.
Ooh. I'm going to have to go snowstorm. I think it's so pretty.
All right. Okay. Cat or dog? Megan?
Dog.
Jenna?
Definitely cat.
I love that. That made me, I don't know why I get such a kick out of that, but I love, it's the little things that make us different. And those are the things I think we need to celebrate. And that's something I really think in female athletics that we can do a better job doing, just celebrating each other and celebrating our differences, even the little differences. I know it's such an oversimple way of looking at it, but I think that the simplicity of that exercise kind of really shines light. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I like it. It just, kind of shows how each of us have our own little opinions on stuff.
Yeah. What about you, Megan? What do you think?
I agree. I think that everyone has their own perspective and their own likes. And I really like what you just said about celebrating. I feel like that is something that we do not do enough.
Yeah, I agree. Well, hopefully that's what we're here for, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, Jenna, we really missed you on the last podcast when we introduced both Sarah and Megan, but we know you were recovering from a surgery, and we also know that it wasn't maybe the easiest recovery. So you want to give us just a super brief introduction about who you are, a little bit about your athletic career, and then why you ended up having this surgery after you were done with your collegiate career.
Yeah, so I've been running track for the past 11 years. So this past season was my last year of collegiate track. I started as a 7th grader and I ran cross country, and I kind of thought about just being a distance runner, but my mom was a sprinter, so she really encouraged me to try it, and I ended up loving it so much. I joined club track when I was an 8th grader, so I ran basically year round because we had club seasons in the winter and the summer, and then school season was in the spring, and then I ran cross country in the fall. So I did that for most of high school. Well, I did club track for all of high school, but I swam for part of high school instead of cross country just to give, my muscles a little bit of a break and my bones a little bit of a break from all the pounding of running. But yeah, I ran cross country for 4 years in college and I did track for 5. I didn't do cross country this past season because I just I'm not a distance runner. I enjoy it as much as I love it, but I kept breaking my femur. So I fractured my femur twice, my freshman year of college and my senior year of college. So my super senior year, I ended up just managing for the team and focusing on sprinting just to kind of prioritize the health of my bones. But I've had a bunion on my right foot my whole life. It's genetic. It's on my mom's side. And after sprinting on it for 11 years, it hurts every day. and I ended up with arthritis in that toe joint.
Mm.
So I just got it fixed about a week and a half ago. And the surgery itself was pretty easy, but then I found out the hard way that my body does not react well to pain medication, so it doesn't really work, which is why I wasn't on the podcast last week because I kept ending up in the emergency room. But now I'm doing good. My foot doesn't hurt anymore. I get my stitches out soon. I'm in a boot for a couple more weeks, and then at the end of the summer, I can start running again.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What a whirlwind. I like that you pointed out there were a couple things in there that I thought are really super good takeaways that I want to circle back to. I like that you talked about being, and I know Megan also really kind of honed in on this, that while you had a gift in running and that was something that you were passionate about, you were good at, you also realize the benefit of doing other sport. And you specifically talked about the physical ramifications, like giving your body a break. But I'm wondering also too, just from a social perspective, if it gave you opportunity to meet new groups of people and grow in different ways or be challenged, maybe emotionally, socially, mentally in different ways. Was there any of that, or was it strictly because you wanted a break physically?
It was mostly because I wanted a break physically. One of my close friends in high school actually had so many shin splints that she had to get surgery, and we ran together cross country and club track and also school track. So I was like, oh, I really do not want that to happen to me because we ran a lot of the same stuff. But in swim, I ended up meeting, like when I joined swim instead of running cross country, I ended up meeting a lot of new people, and it was definitely very different. Swim and cross country are pretty similar in like the attitudes that people hold because it's a lot of like pushing yourself and beating the clock. But those girls, they weren't the people that I ran like track with the other 3 seasons of the year. So it was a totally new group of people where I kind of got to make like different friends that I saw instead of just like my running friend.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I think let's talk a little bit about that, kind of the mindset of a swimmer and a runner. I know I've talked to other athletes, in those two sports in particular. I think there's other sports like tennis, golf, gymnastics, or some that come top of mind, even though they're team sports, because there is a team aspect to all of those sports. It is very individually focused, meaning, because you can go to state as an individual. You can't go to state as an individual in lacrosse, right? So you're either going to go as a team or you're not going to go at all. So, do you think do you think a certain type of person is drawn to that type of athletics? What do you think happens there?
I would say yes. I think a certain type of person is drawn. I played softball for the majority of like my childhood. I played from when I was 5 all the way until I was in 8th grade. And I really enjoyed like being part of a team and like relying on the other people. But at the same time, if somebody out there doesn't have the same love for the sport that you do, that
Right.
like can affect your whole team's performance. And not that that's a bad thing. Some people do sports more as like a hobby or like a social activity, whereas some people are doing it like just for the sport itself. Like they want to get better at that specific sport and challenge themselves. And that's kind of where
Right.
I was at. So I ended up, softball and track are the same season, so it's very difficult to do both. So then when I got to high school, I picked track, and I found that I enjoyed it a lot more because although I was allowed to like bond with my teammates and spend a lot of time with them, both in practice and out of practice, unless I was in a relay, the way that they viewed the sport had no effect on how I performed. And my college cross country coach actually told us, he said, I will let anybody, this isn't a total quote, but the gist of what he said, he was like, if anybody can be on this team, but if you're just going to be here to have fun, don't get in the way of the people who want to work hard. That was his take on it. He was like, if you're here to run and enjoy it, that's totally fine, and we want you to be here. But if you have someone who wants to be a national champion, that's not the same kind of training.
Right. That is really, really interesting. And I want to talk about that for a little piece. And I'd love for Megan to kind of chime in. That I do believe, I think that's easy for a college coach to say, honestly. And I think a college coach can say it in a way that is taken the way it is supposed to be taken to maybe a more mature athlete. That is something we struggle with in high school, right? And we want sports to be inclusive. We want everybody to have an opportunity. But there are people out there who want to win. Their desire is to perform at their best. It's not that they don't want to have fun. They do want to have fun, but they also want to perform in their best. It would be similar to being in a chemistry class, right? It's not that you don't want to, make a friend in chemistry, but they're committed to getting the A, right? And no one is holding them back or judging them for that. I sometimes think in athletics, particularly female athletics, there can be some stigma on that. What do you think about that, Jenna? Do you have any thoughts on that in particular?
I think specifically like in high school and college athletics, there are definitely girls out there who don't want to make friends and they're more catty and, judgmental of their teammates because they don't necessarily realize that sports are an inclusive place for everybody and you don't have to be the greatest. Whereas like boys sports more, I feel like a lot of them are in sports to be the greatest and girls maybe isn't the same way. So some of your like elite level female athletes, at least in high school, kind of mirror that and end up not being able to build those friendships that they would have been able to if they would have been a little bit more, focused on having fun. And I think college is a little bit different because you're all there. You've like made the team. That's the point. That's your passion. That's why you're there. And like my cross country team, my college is pretty small. So our women's cross country team doesn't make any cuts, which is why I was able to do it because like I said, I'm not a very good distance runner. I'm actually quite terrible in terms of running. I'm like last on my team every time, but those girls knew that I was there to get better and to work hard. And we all wanted to be friends because like those are the people you rely on. Whereas in high school, I think you have more friends outside of sport than you do in college.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Megan? I'm curious.
I kind of agree with what Jenna was just saying. I feel like in high school you get a very wide variety of different perspectives and, different reasons for doing things. But then once you get to college, I feel like you can somewhat, hone in on having a lot more of the same, reasonings for wanting to do things. You're just trying to better yourself. But I do think within both ways that you're able to find joy and love for the sport, at least in my experience. So I think that just the different relationships I've been able to build throughout my high school career versus my college career have still provided, a lot of fun and like happy times with the people that I've been able to meet.
Yeah, I like that. And I'm really appreciative of both your views on that. I want to kind of put a pin in something Jenna said just about, I think she used the word catty. I could be wrong. I tried to take a note there, but competition around women in sport or girls in sport, where it's more acceptable for a boy or a man to go out there and, be gritty or try his best or take someone down. I mean, not physically, but I mean and that can maybe be more challenging for a girl because they don't want to be seen as, overpowering, or it can be stigmatized, or maybe it's not as acceptable. And there's not as much opportunity. I mean, there's not as much when you're looking beyond high school. There is less opportunity from a financial perspective. Some of that is changing. It's not changing a lot. But there is more money out there for men in sports. So there's more limited opportunity for girls and women, which means, the people you're working with can potentially also be your competition. Did you guys feel any of that?
I think for me, once in high school, a little bit when it got to a higher competition level, but nothing crazy. But then I think that was definitely a big thing that I noticed right away within my college team the first couple of years, because you are obviously competing, for your team and for yourself. But then there comes the idea of earning like a travel roster spot. So that
Sure.
I feel like is where I saw the most of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely would agree with that. My high school experience was pretty similar where maybe it was like a little bit more at the higher levels, like competing for varsity spots in either track, swim, or cross country. But in college, my first couple years, it was kind of unfortunate because it was more viewed as when the girls were trying to like compete with each other, it was viewed as like drama. Oh, the girls are dramatic, like they want to beat so and so. Like that's so dramatic. Whereas like the boys are doing the exact same thing, but it's
Yeah.
more encouraged. So my most recent track coach, who I think she's absolutely amazing, has really encouraged it to be healthy competition and been like,
Yeah.
we want you to be inspired by your teammates to do better and to be like wanting to be the fastest one in this event. But also when your teammate does well, you celebrate them because that's their accomplishment and it doesn't it doesn't take away from your accomplishments.
Yeah. I think that's exactly right. And I appreciate you both being candid about that because, I do coach high school girls. I see this. I understand and I feel, there can only be one top, especially in a sport like cross country or swimming, you're timed. There is only one person that is the fastest. That's just the way it goes down, right? And that can sometimes be super hard. And then just given then access to opportunity after that. It is hard, and there are different social standards for girls and boys, particularly in high school. And, some of that is just I'm not saying it's always been that way, so it's always going to be that way. It has been that way. And I think it's taking time for people. I think it's getting better, but I think we do have to recognize that, there is gender stereotyping. Do you guys think that's true or not, or just fill me in there?
I would say yes. I mean, specifically like for sports that are more like team oriented. I know a lot of times in high school, like people are more likely to go watch the boys basketball team than they are the girls basketball team.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They're going to go watch the baseball game. They're not going to go watch the softball game.
Yeah.
Whereas in sports that are more individual, swimming I know is 2 different seasons, at least in high school for men and women. But for track and cross country, those are the same. So if you go to you're watching the boys and you're watching the girls, and same with cross country. I think there's a little bit of a stigma in track, just ever so slightly within like the different events that you do, because there's like throwing, like shot put and discus, and that's more seen as like a boys event.
Yeah.
A girls event, at least in high school. I mean, in college, I have amazing teammates who are throwers, and they're like so strong, and it's like incredible what they can do. But I know there's less girls who throw in high school because that's seen as more like a boys event. And same with like maybe pole vault. More girls do pole vault because a lot of girls are gymnasts, and then they have like that natural ability to be able to pole vault, whereas there's not as many boys. So track kind of depends on the event, I think.
I think you're right. What about you, Megan? What do you think?
That's funny. I was going to say the same exact thing about high school because at least in my high school, there was just, I don't think anyone would miss, boys football game or another big game with lacrosse at our high school, specifically just for the men's team. And what Jenna was just saying is super interesting because it made me think in high school, I don't know if I knew a single one of my friends or girls who was a thrower on the track team.
Interesting. Yeah.
I come here and we lift sometimes at the same time as other sports. And I seriously have made 7 or 8 amazing friends who throw the shot put, the discus, they do it all. And I'm just like, this is amazing. So that really made me think. And I honestly really agree with that.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said for that. And one of the things we deal with is football is on Friday nights in the school district that we're in, and cross country meets, the invitational. So the big meets are Saturday morning. I mean, we're on buses sometimes as early as 6 a.m. And we really encourage the kids to have a high school experience. So we want them to do the things that fill them. But high school football games don't start till 7:30 at night, and we want kids off their legs. We want kids in bed by 9. And
Right.
if they're going to the football game, that's not happening. So we actually encourage them to go to half the game and then leave.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've heard many other coaches say none of those, football players are coming to watch you run. Like, why do you feel so compelled to go watch them? And I'm not sure that's the right argument. I get the argument, by the way. But I don't think that's the motivating factor for a high school girl. Well, they're not watching you. Why should you watch them? I think the bigger question is, how can the people and the powers that would be, which would be the athletic departments at these schools, how can they encourage more participation in viewership for some of these other sports and not make the quote unquote main events men's basketball and football? Do you guys have any thoughts there, or am I being too harsh?
No, I don't think you're being too harsh. My first thought that comes to mind, and I know there's so many aspects that come into decisions like this, but I mean, just the general, just kind of what you mentioned, Friday night football games, you're done with the week of school, you're done with the work day. That's kind of a prime time. So I would say somehow managing the times of everything, like if you could just be a little bit more equal between all the different sports on, more convenient times for everyone so that you can kind of get the best of both worlds. But that is obviously a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Jenna?
I think kind of promoting the events. I feel like when I ran cross country in high school, nobody knows when the cross country meets are, and nobody knows when, the track meets or the swim meets. But if there's a home meet, maybe for swim, to kind of promote that more. Because I feel like when you do school announcements, they're like, oh, football game this Friday, but nobody's saying cross country meet this Saturday. That's not those sports. They're not even being highlighted. So even just starting to kind of bring them to the attention of the general student body, I think they would realize oh, my friend runs cross country. Oh, so-and-so, do you want to go with me? Then that's just little by little, they kind of understand what each sport is like versus, cause it's no fun to go to, cross country meet and you sit there and you're by yourself. It's more fun if you go with a group of friends. But football, everybody's at the football games. You all want to be there, but it's because everyone knows about it. Right.
Yeah, I think we all kind of said the same thing, is that it is a top-down problem, there. It is from a communication perspective, getting the information out there, sharing the highlights, sharing the light, you're shining a light on. And I do think that does come from the top down. I still do believe that particularly in high schools, we are, as female athletes and coaches, we are working in systems created for men by men. I do believe that. I feel that deeply, whether it's the way we, weight train female athletes at that age, or the resources available to them, or the light that's shined on their events. I do believe there's a lot of work to be done there. Yeah. And do you guys think that also, or again, am I being too harsh?
No, I definitely think it's a top down. Yeah.
I also agree. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Really glad you are both here. I'm super excited about what we're doing at PEAC. I'm super excited that you volunteered to consider working on these projects. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. I'm learning as much from all of you as I hope you're learning from me and the other experts that we're having on here. So as we go into our cool down here, Jenna, because I know you are going off to work here, is there something specific that you want to leave our audience today?
I would say definitely within whatever sport you do, all of the 1% matter. So whether you're there to be the top varsity athlete or the fastest runner, the fastest swimmer, the best player on your team, or you're there just to have fun and, meet people. Maybe your goal isn't to play in college. It's just to have the best high school experience you can. I would say all of the little 1% matter. So everyone has a different 100% that they're willing to give, but making sure that you're taking care of yourself and you're getting your homework done and you're going to sleep and you're balancing your social life. Those things are all going to make your athletic career a lot better and a lot more special to each person, like kind of in their own different way. And I'd say that's definitely the most important thing about being a young female athlete is not only performing well, but building those memories while you can, because you only have this one shot to be an athlete while you're this age.
I'm telling you, you guys don't know this because Jenna didn't share it, but Jenna does want to coach at some point. I mean, I'm telling you, you are going to make an excellent coach, and love the way you put that about that 1%, and that the 100% is the same for all of us, but what we do with those 1% are all unique. That was liquid gold. I've written that down. I put it on a Post-it, and I'm going to use that at practice. So thank you for that.
That's a big thing in school, all the 1%.
I love it. I'm using it. All right. You get to invite 5 people to a dinner party. Who is it?
Ooh. Like famous people or any people?
Could be anybody. We don't have to know them.
Okay. I would invite my old 3rd grade teacher, Miss McKnight, because I haven't talked to her forever and she was like my favorite teacher that I ever had. I would invite Jim Henson, the creator of the Muppets, even though he's dead, which is so sad. But if he wasn't dead, I would invite him to my dinner. I would invite my little brother because he's hilarious. And I would invite my old roommate and my current roommate, Caitlin and Lydia, because they're 2 of my closest friends.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a fabulous dinner party. I love it. And that was really outside the box. I'm not sure anyone has ever given those answers. That was awesome.
I think quite different than that.
Isn't that so funny? I love that. That's one of the reasons I love asking these questions. It really helps you understand people's personalities and what their values are. And that's what's important, right? Connecting to your values to figure out your why so you understand the 1%, just like Jenna said.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. So thanks so much for tuning in again to another episode of PEAC. We believe in redefining the training experience for female athletes. Our programs are tailored to unique needs, experiences, and we hope to be providing valuable insight and resources to both athletes and coaches as we dive into some awesome conversation. So make sure you like, follow, review, and share with an athlete or coach